Hi there, I'm Adam Kivas and this is my novel, the video 7, Rafael. Rafael enters his home. It is his safe place where he is protected from the world outside, where he can be free with his thoughts, left alone to his own account. Where he is debarred from the world outside, where he must not face the obvious. Here, he retired. This is what he says himself always and always. This is the place where I have retired. This is the place where I am resting. What? Resting for what? He is still young. Rafael knows that these words, even though they are meant to soothe him, that these words in the end, they don't help him at all. His life is dear. His life is dreary. He knows it. He hardly leaves his home. He is confined in his home like a prisoner. He feels himself like a prisoner who is not able to experience the world outside. Rafael here is a nobody. And he likes to be nobody. He imagines to be a nobody, just an ordinary man who can live his life. An ordinary young man who can have pleasure in his life, who can do whatever he wants. Here, the place he lives in, he chose it very carefully. It was actually meant to be a retirement facility. The developer developed these buildings for older folks so that they can cherish the last years of their lives. And Rafael always counted himself to them. And when the first time he applied for this place, he was not welcomed at all. Because many retirees, some of them are indeed one of those who want to make up for the time they lost and who want to enjoy life even in a high age. But most of them thought retirement is something which does not concern younger folks. Retirement is something where you relax, but you keep things calm, silent. You let things roll in a different pace. Most of those retirees, they worked on a daily schedule. They had a very structured life, arranged life, and then they fell out of it. Some of them may have been depressed of it, some not. So this new found liberty needed to be kept close watched, and of course not to be disturbed by younger inclinations, by young folks' inclinations. And this is what Rafael was considered as a young man, as a young fellow who just wants to party, who wants to do drugs, whatever comes in one's mind. And this was contrary to what many retirees thought about life as a great enjoyment. But for a matter of fact, many retirees had a lot of common and have a lot of common with young folks. They are on the path of discovering and finding out what is good for them, what they want to do, what they want to enjoy, what one should enjoy before one dies. Especially these thoughts ail many retirees. What is the great experience you should have before your legs cannot carry you anymore, before your back pains, your pains, and whatever comes with age makes it impossible for you to do anything like that, to enjoy your life, to live the moment. So Rafael was not welcomed, but he is used to that. Whenever someone rebuffs him, he is immediately reminded of Carlos Gonzalez, the man who saved his life, the man who in the end made this all possible, who gave his life a meaning. At least this is what Rafael thinks, that among all his siblings and half-siblings, He was the only one who has been saved. He was the only one. He's the only one who could make it into this life, into the recent history. And what an accomplishment this is. Rafael is not sure what to think about it. Is this indeed something he should be happy about, proud about, that he survived? He survived a brutal onslaught. He survived a lynching. The lynching of Fulgencio Santa Cruz's entire family, the drug lord, the monster as he was called, the murderer who signed the death warrants of many. And these people, they took revenge. So what should Rafael think about? And Carlos Gonzalez, he only saved him because he thought he's an ordinary boy, a boy who came into crossfire. But later, when Carlos Gonzalez found out who he was, he looked at him with contempt, with hatred. This person who initially approached Rafael with a fatherly warmth, with a helping heart, and good-heartedly, this man later on turned to stone. His heart turned to stone, and he looked at Rafael with contempt, with deep hatred. Later, when Rafael became older, he once sent Carlos Gonzalez a bouquet with flowers and with a thank you note. The bouquet was immediately returned. Nothing was touched. The flowers were wilted. And this has seared into Rafael's memories, and in his mind, the wilted flowers, the returned flowers. His life, what was his life about? Should he be thankful? Should he be thankful of his life, of the condition he lives in? What did he deserve to die? This is one of those questions which ails him, even though he tries to mute these questions. They are not appropriate. He thinks himself, this is not what young folks should do. No, young folks should enjoy life, but this, he knows, is impossible for him. He knows that the world outside there is different from the life he lives in his mind, in his body. His body is pretty much restricting his life, his ability, his way of approaching the world. There is no denying of it. His body is the measurement he can only measure his life with. So when he applied for this place, for this retiree place, many people thought, well, Rafael, this man who seems to be good looking and even a womanizer, well, who knows what might come up with him? Parties. This is what retirees immediately thought, parties and so on, and who knows what. But Rafael was adamant. He kept to it. He wanted to live here. He even promised that he would never make a party, that he would never invite anyone. And these promises, they all sounded void and empty for many people. Why wouldn't he invite anyone? Not even a girlfriend. Look at him, this man. Then one more, it dawned on some. Maybe Rafael is a priest or something, or a religious figure. Who knows? Some of them even thought that he's a terrorist. Maybe a jihadi, maybe a sleeper cell, whatever it was. They took great interest in him. And this was always scary for Rafael, because Rafael didn't want anyone to find out that he is the only surviving relative of Fulgencio Santa Cruz. This could be dangerous. He saw people mournful. He saw people's face with hatred. He still thinks about the people who stormed his home while he was in it. whose faces were distorted in hatred, in deep hatred, in disgust. People who came so far to lynch his parents because they had enough. He saw all the hues of human contempt, of human destitute, of mourners who mourned for their loved ones in cemeteries. So he wanted to be careful. He wanted to be careful because the depths of human hearts, of human wickedness is deep. But in the end, Rafael doesn't know whether he has ever succeeded in making people believe that he's not a descendant of Fulgencio Santa Cruz. They may look like who knows how Fulgencio Santa Cruz looked like in his youth. Maybe they look alike. Maybe they have similarities. Rafael doesn't remember. He hasn't got any photos from his past, from his family. He was too young, and even the memory he has of his father, the man who was always nice to him, who always treated him fatherly. Who was this man who had a good heart? And Rafael always thought of his father as a hero. That this man was such a murderer, such a monster. No, he could not keep anything from him. Not a single token. And his memories, they are fading. And he's not sure whether he should keep his parents in his memory. Because he once heard that some villagers talked about the wealth they lived in. The wealth the Santa Cruz family lived in. And they lived on the back of the villagers. They lived on the back of all those poor folks. And they talked about Fulgencio Santa Cruz with contempt, with deep hatred. He deserved his end, and his family too. They lived like Spanish aristocrats. And they had the same attitude as Spanish aristocrats. Well, he met his maker. So what should Rafael think about? What should he be thankful of? And when the retirees in the end agreed on letting Rafael live, he was very glad, because this retiree home, this was some sort of his refugee place. Here he could hide from the public. Rafael always tells himself that his main purpose, or the main reason why he chose the retiree place, is because he has to hide from the world. He has to hide because there might be some who still hold a grudge against Fulgencio Santa Cruz. And because of this, he has to be careful. Because of this, he has to live in these places. Has to be very, very cautious with whom he meets. But in the end, these thoughts, these memories, these reassurances, they are not the truth. And he knows it, and he doesn't want to admit it. He cannot admit it, but at least in the retiree center, at least there, things are not open as that much. Things are on a human scale. He is in control of his life. He is protected from the world outside. But then the pandemic happened. And the pandemic threw everything in disarray, because a lot of retirees died during the pandemic. And it was one of these hot spots in the country where a lot of retirees died. And the developer thereafter decided that the place he rented out to retirees should be filled by younger folks. That the business with retirees wasn't working.